Yeah.
staying true to what feels right.
And the magic is that I feel more comfortable now doing that other stuff. So I feel a lot better in front of groups and doing that. But I was able to approach it from, you know, a way that resonated with me in the beginning and really working with the customers. And then, you know, it grew into the business from there.
Yes, it did, because you had a very, very strong customer base. But then you started to fall in love with the people, right? A lot of those girls that were looking for a way out, right?
Totally,
a lot of
definitely.
them that were looking for the way out. And you felt it, I think, from what I understand, I remember when we were having, I forgot who we were there talking to when we were in the lunch line, and she wanted a way out, you know?
Yep.
And you felt, you knew at that point that it was a responsibility to share the business with her, if I remember correctly.
Totally. And we grew together, you know, we raised each other up. It's not about being the leader and being the best, you know, it comes back to being humble again. You know, I'm very fond of two girls in my team who now have the biggest teams in my team, and we grew together and they had faith in me and we learned together. We did our first Zoom together. You know, it really is about, as I said, just being down in the trenches with the team and just staying humble, hungry, and do the hustle to get, you know, stuff done.
Absolutely. Well, it leads perfectly into our speaker this evening, because that's exactly what this woman is, I think, to all of us. She's extremely humble. She's got the hustle and she's got the hunger. And that's why Jeff knew that she was the right mentor to, you know, buddy us all up with. And when she saw I was serious, she, you know, came out here and she's like, let's do it. And, you know, she helped make sure that Asher was just a couple months old. And she got, you know, her assistant to come out so that Cheryl and I could meet with people and talk to people. And that's what it's about, you know, when, you know, that our win is her win. She's been with the company, as you know, for 28 years. She's, you know, she's the top woman in the world with Juice Plus. They call her the Velvet Hammer.
So you may be telling too much.
But you know what I love about Cheryl? She really does have that hunger and hustle. Even, you know, after 28 years, you know, she's still got it in her and inspires us every day by doing the do. So we are blessed to have her as our upline, and we've got the golden ticket. You know, Jeff Roberti, Cheryl Cortese, as you know, her daughter also works the business with her. So Cheryl, I know what we were talking about, and I think it just builds exactly on what. On what we
well, right now, this team is such a great example of doing everything right that it's hard to, you know, say much more. But for all of you on the line, I think I know most of you, and we had a great call tonight. We went a little bit over, so I apologize to be here, you know, just a little later than planned, but we were getting used to a new phone conference system, and so this was our first night to do that. So I guess we took a little bit more time, but just such powerful stories. And really that's what it's all about. I love the stories. I love the people. I love the business. I think, as I said, I know most of you on the line, but if I don't, my name's Cheryl Cortese. I had the good fortune to sponsor Lauren Slocum, Laval, and to be sponsored by Jeff Roberti. And, you know, it was, I really feel like a lot of the success that I've had and that, you know, others have had, it's because the leadership and the support that comes right behind them. You're exactly right when you were saying that it's a team learning together, it's people growing up together, it's people really knowing that you only do well if you all do well together. And that's the beauty of what we do. It may be one of the only professions in the world where people really do get in and go to work for each other, and it brings reward for everyone that does that, and very clearly so, but it also brings great emotional reward as well. So it's a wonderful, positive business. As Lauren said, I've been at it for 28 years and looking forward to the next 28. I never thought of myself as a high-energy person. The first time somebody said that to me, I thought, who could they possibly be talking about? Because life was just a struggle because I was never well. And I wasn't deathly ill, I was just never well. And so it was always something, and Juice Plus just made a huge difference for that. But what really, I guess you'd say, lights my fire, fuels my soul, is that I love the interaction of our business, our profession, the way it really empowers other people to take control of and own their lives. I love that part when I'm doing the presentation and you see the light come on beside someone's eyes and they, you realize they got it. It makes sense to them. They're going to be able to do things for themselves that they've never been able to do before. And, just listening tonight, the level of self-esteem that comes along with it is huge. Money is a very functional thing. We all need it. We need it to, live our lives and to interact in the world and take care of our families and not only provide the things that we need, but to provide those things that make life comfortable and enjoyable. And it's very real here, but what really is empowering is the joy that comes from it and the self-esteem, as I said, and all of those things that really give you an expanded quality of life, that to live life at its highest edge in all aspects. And so this all lends itself well to that. For those of you I may not know, 28 years ago, I was a suddenly single mom and terrified because the economy in our state had just gone to nothing. The petroleum, oil, and gas business is what was going, how we made our income there in Louisiana, and that all moved to the Middle East in the mid to late 80s, and everybody's jobs went with it, and people lost most of what they had, as people tend to do in recession, and many marriages came apart. Mine was one of them, and it was just a very, very difficult time and a very frightening time. And even though I had a master's degree in education and taught at one of the universities, I didn't make enough really to, support two children, put them through college. Both my parents were gone by that time. It wasn't like I could go home with my kids, so it was all there up to me, and it was very frightening, but at the same time, it was one of those opportunities in life which you can only look back on and say, well, it was probably a great blessing because I got to really grow up into myself and the strengths that I had and didn't realize I had. But people like my sponsor, Jeff Roberti, really laid the foundation and helped to support and train and be able to help me step into myself. So I love that part of our business. And really, this organization, the YOLO team, you all are, you're leading the world. Very fast pace. Of course, we listened to the folks from Australia. We heard them on our call tonight. Everyone is just, cheering not only for all of you there, but the fact that you're setting the pace. This whole YOLO team is setting the pace for the whole world right now. And we are also in a growth surge as far as the company worldwide. After 28 years, you begin to see the pattern of how this whole business works and how the industry has grown and how it develops and what the pattern is. And basically, my whole career will have, a surge time, and then that'll kind of, it doesn't go flat. It just kind of stays in the same place for a while, and that, you're really shoring up and making sure that everything's solid, and then you'll have another surge. And then, so it tends to grow like that. And in this last year, our company has had the greatest growth over the last year than any other time in Juice Plus history. We've always grown with Juice Plus from the time it was introduced, but we've never had this huge, it's really a wave. It's not just a surge, it's a wave. And it's only getting bigger and bigger. So I truly believe that we are going into this new year with the greatest potential we've ever had. We will see the biggest years ever that will be upon us. And so, with something like that, and I told Lauren today, we were talking, I said, your organization can be the biggest in the world. You all can be the biggest in the world just because of the people that have come together, what you're, laying the foundation for and leading with as far as your activity level. But you really can take advantage of this. And No, it's like, a great parade. You can either watch the parade, you can join the parade, or you can lead the parade. And that's where, if Lauren says hunger, that's where I've always, I like being, is I want to lead the parade. I want my teams to lead the parade, because that means that we've put our arms around huge numbers of people and we're empowering them from a health standpoint, wellness standpoint, which our world needs desperately, but also from that economic stability standpoint. Now, if we look at what does it take to do that, how do you access our business at the highest level? Well, obviously, there's some great examples happening right there in your own organization. But I think first of all, it's important. We heard it tonight, but I could not reiterate it enough, that consistency of effort is, the key, the foundation. Belief in what you're doing, and of course, where belief is concerned, one of the great things about that is that we've got a lot of, validation all around us. Stories are important because they validate. They're real people. They're real people that, from all walks of life, everyone. Our business is open to everyone. So those stories validate for other people. It strengthens belief. We talk about our Monday night call. The reason that call is so important, not only for the organization, but for me, is it constantly, is validating the belief of who we are, what we have to offer, what we're about, how we go about doing that. And it's that constant really support or feeding, you might say, for the belief that's so important. As your belief gets stronger and stronger, then, it becomes an intrinsic part of you that nothing can shake or, alter or in any way take you off track if your belief is strong enough. So really being immersed in what we do, in the events that we have, in all the activities that are available, that constantly strengthens belief. So if you have belief, you feel like you're in the right place, you know that what you have is the best ever and people are having great results and you want those results, then momentum is the thing that needs to happen next. And you all as an organization, you've got momentum going on. There's no question about it. But let's just look at foundationally what creates momentum. Because we all have heard the word, we all know the word, and yet for some it's kind of elusive. It's like, what's the actual definition, you might say? If you go to the dictionary, it's going to tell you that momentum is a force in motion. So if it's a force in motion, we know what that feels like. We can kind of tell what it looks like, but how do you make that happen? Because my interpretation before I really understood it was that momentum was something that just kind of came along. And if you were lucky enough to be part of that, then it carried you. Well, you can create that. And that's what you all have done and are doing, and everyone can become proficient at. Our business is one that's very appealing because we know there are no limits. We know that there's no glass ceiling or there's no one to put restrictions or restraints on you. And so people get very excited about that. But unless you figure out what activity needs to take place to create the momentum and how momentum is created, then maybe they can meet with disappointment or frustration sets in. And so over the years, if I feel like there's anything that has really, I guess you would say, fueled my business, it's understanding how momentum happens and who creates it. Well, you create it. You are totally in control of your own momentum. We all are. And the momentum is created by what you have heard on the line tonight from many of the people who spoke, especially the people from Australia right now. They've created a momentum, and as long as they really participate full out in that momentum, it's only going to get bigger. And that can happen for everybody, anywhere, anytime, any place, as long as you understand it. Now, momentum is created by consistent daily method of operation of paying activities. You know, you heard our speakers tonight. One of them was very good in saying she realized that the activity that she did needed to pay off. It needed to have, you know, a payday, you might say. So you look at those activities that pay. Anything that pays is something where you are telling the story and people are responding. It can be one-on-one, it can be in an in-home presentation, it can be in a group presentation, on a Zoom call, on a Monday night call that you have people on. You know, anything that brings you interaction with someone where you get to tell the story, be there as they hear the story, and then be there to take the order or have the new distributor get started with you. So your daily method of operation should be something that includes as many of those activities as possible and shaped around whatever your, you know, plan has to be. You might have a young family. I so admire, you know, people who have small children and still manage to turn out big businesses, people who have, you know, full-time jobs already that they're committed to and still turn out a full-time national marketing director position, because everyone has something. And you heard people say, and it's so important to know that you can weave this in anytime, anywhere. And so it's not part-time or full-time, it's anytime with the story. So when you realize that your consistent daily method of operation, if done daily, if you go through people daily, because our business is nothing more than a long line of people stretched right out into infinity, and you're just going through the numbers. You interested? No, move out of the way. You interested? No, move out of the way. When someone's interested, that's when you give it your full time, effort, and emotion. Now, it doesn't mean that, you know, you don't care about the others who said no, or that they may not, you know, come back years later, as we heard, I think it was Kate tonight, say 8 years later, she decided to, you know, really become serious about this. But it means that you don't invest in it emotionally, you don't absorb any disappointment from it when people are not ready, but you just go through those numbers. And if you can go through the numbers consistently, whatever that means for you every day, but touch that at least every day. If you're consistent with that daily method of operation, and that goes on continuously, the only thing that can happen is momentum. So when you realize you're in control of your own momentum, you can make it happen anytime. And momentum is really what carries and lifts the whole ship, you might say. It really or sends the rocket off to the moon. It's the momentum which creates an energy of its own that carries you and your business. Now, we have a lot of momentum to draw from. You've got the momentum of the company right now. Within the next 2 years, where we are right now, and if we look at this last year, we will be $1 billion a year corporation, not just, you know, a company that, you know, has created 10 billion over our Juice Plus years, which is huge, and it may be greater than that now, but we'll be turning out $1 billion a year. That means that there are people who are making more people making more with our company than ever before, and you want to be one of those. So if you realize that you're in control of the momentum, and the momentum is the fuel that really sends the rocket into motion, then all you have to do is orchestrate consistent method of operation, wrap your arms around as many people as possible, build your teams as wide as possible. Whatever you hear, I can assure you, I've been at this long enough, I can look through my PVC report, and the people who make the largest incomes have the widest businesses. That means as many people sponsored you as possible, and they're very good at immediately stepping into that second line, which means that you're helping your front line put his line together as wide as possible, as quickly as possible, and we're talking within the first few weeks, and that they're in that time frame stepping into those people's front line and securing them a wide front line. So if you can get that activity down and do that consistently, you can write yourself whatever check you choose it to be, and you can continually fuel that check by going wide. Now, one of the things I'll say is that this is a simple business, and but it's one that has to be worked with consistent effort. That doesn't mean it's easy, so to speak. Simple is it's easy to understand. The work itself is hugely enjoyable, greatly rewarding, but it has to happen for the whole thing to really materialize and mature into the kind of incomes that we see people make and that we know are available to us. So it does require, consistent effort and hard work. But it's work that people love. And it's always been hard for me to even associate the word work with it, because the first time someone asked me, how many hours do you work? It was like they were asking me, to speak Chinese. I didn't understand what it meant, because I didn't feel like I had worked since I began. Work was something that I always felt like you didn't want to do, okay? But in using that word, hopefully to describe that you have to have consistent effort and activity, and if you choose those activities wisely and they're paying activities and you do them consistently, then they're always going to create momentum and they're always going to pay off. And if you condense time with those activities, they're going to pay off faster and faster and faster.
Cheryl,
yes.
Can I ask a couple things? Because there's so many amazing people on this call, just from all over the world that are on. And I think, it was interesting. I don't know if Linda's on the call. I hope that she is. Linda, are you on the call? Linda, even in?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yes.
I'd love if you share a little bit about, what really made this shift for you to get in major momentum. It was really that whole thing of, not giving up on a bad day for you that, changed your whole life. You look at, you were just texting me about, man, 5 years ago, you never would have thought this, right? So maybe you can share about, because I think there's we talk about, it's not a whole makeover, guys. It's like those 2 millimeter shifts in someone's, whether it's their hunger, their hustle, their, whatever that part of them is, or like Lorian, I think really said it as well. But maybe you could share, and then maybe Cheryl, you could ask Linda some questions.
Okay, love it.
I would just say that, I guess my story is that there wasn't a secret sauce or a defining moment. I worked hard this whole time, as hard as I could, for the 6 years. And sometimes my best was not much, but I definitely look back and it was still the best that I could do at the time. So the message that I like to kind of give is that it's not all easy and it's not all stratospheric. It's kind of like sowing and reaping and sowing and reaping. And it's that grind that makes you become a more confident and courageous person, that you can just handle it better. So, and the thing that I got from Cheryl and Lauren was, right from the start, don't give up on a bad day. Stay in line. And if you care about people and you work hard, and you stay in this business model, you can have a business that will pay you for the rest of your life. I understood that, even though I didn't know how that was going to happen. I had enough trust that I just had to stay in line and keep plugging in. And Cheryl always gave me that awesome challenge of, it's not easy being a pioneer, but if you're not going to take it, someone in Australia is going to take this, Linda.
That's right. And so what you are saying is that, whether the day was going extremely well or it wasn't going extremely well, you were still consistent with that activity. You did it every day. Now, let me ask you this. In doing that every day, do you feel much more, let's say, did you find that strength in you that has given you the confidence that now you could do this anywhere, anytime, any place, because you've built not only the belief, but the confidence in the activity.
Oh, absolutely. It's just like Jeff says, you are building. Do you want the $5 million suitcase, or do you want the skills to create the $5 million 100 times over? And
so you could go anywhere, and you could recreate what you've done, or you could add to what you've done, because you now know you've got, if you want to call it the power, if you want to call it the knowledge of what activity it takes, you have that confidence from that consistent daily method of operation. And I'll tell you, Jeff and I could probably, you would all probably laugh, or, or at least, I guess you would say, identify with. We've had some awful days. I mean, I can remember times, especially in the beginning, where, I called him up and I had a huge check already. I mean, it was just a few months into it, and I already had more money than I thought existed in the world. And yet I'd had such a bad day that I would, I'm just quitting. I can't do this. How am I going? And just basically in tears. And it usually was a disappointment that I hadn't learned yet how to handle. But we've had days, both of us, and fortunately we were close enough that, as friends, that if he had a really rough day, he could call and say, this has really been just the worst, the hardest. When somebody that you really had put a lot of time or effort into just quit, and then not only quit, but went and said bad things about, your company or your product. When someone went to another company and tried to take your distributors, I mean, people that you had put a lot of effort into, I mean, there are all kind of things that come up. But once you have crossed that threshold of doing the activity often enough, consistent enough, whether the day was a great day or not the best day, then you're rock solid. You're bulletproof. You'd stop a bulldozer or a tank in its tracks, because you have that confidence level and you have the momentum, and you know that you can recreate it again if you had to. And so you become unstoppable at that point, and also your income becomes unstoppable. And so, Linda, you all in Australia have been an excellent example of creating momentum in a major way, whether you realized you were doing it or not, just by the consistent activity, the all-out massive action that you employed on a regular basis. Now, that momentum is there, and it's there for all the new people that are coming in. So, they can just become part of it. And as you said, and I've heard you all say this, you lift each other up. That's exactly what's happening, is people are coming in and they're just being lifted up immediately by the momentum that's already in place. But anybody, anywhere can create that. But like you just said, Linda, it doesn't mean that it's easy. It might be simple to understand, but it's not always easy to implement. You have to really discipline yourself. And, Chris Drobes kind of coined the phrase, discipline your disappointments. But truly, when you can discipline your disappointments, when you can discipline your activity, when you can hold yourself accountable, which I see this organization do in just fine fashion, then you write your own ticket as far as what income you want. And, the income is usually consistent growth. We see spurts of that every once in a while. The way our pay plan works is that you'll go along steady, a little bit of a climb in there, and then all of a sudden you'll turn a corner and there'll be an explosion. And steady, and then there'll be an explosion. So what creates the explosion is the consistent activity and continuing to add with, and making sure that you go into that first, second, and third line as quickly as possible, because that's going to solidify everybody's business and secure your future. So, Lauren, Linda, anything else?
I think the biggest thing also, Cheryl, that we talked about, I think the biggest thing that you always, you and Jeff always really remind me of, you got to be your best distributor. So that means putting on new customers, putting on new distributors all the time. You know what I mean? Not asking somebody to do something you want to do, you know, holding an event or, you know, being on these calls. Like I remember, I think the thing that is when you make things negotiable, how business doesn't grow and how you don't grow. Like, you know, when I started, I think the biggest thing, I mean, and when I started, everybody is like, look, these Monday night calls are non-negotiable. You know, I mean, that is going to university. It's like if I want to get my master's and get my NMD, which is basically my master's in Juice Plus, then I need to be on these Monday night, you know, the Cortese call. It's not about, you know, our call or anybody's call. It's about that momentum. It sets that momentum.
Exactly. It's the momentum. And the one thing, we're back to consistency. You know, if I committed to a Monday night call, it's been 26 years now. I haven't missed a Monday night in 26 years because that's what pays. It means that everybody in your organization can depend on you, that you know, they can depend, and it's not on you personally. What you're doing is you're creating a model for people to set up that their teams can depend on what they say. If we say we're going to do a Monday night call, we do a Monday night call from now on if it's working. Now, if it's something that didn't work at all, you know, but I can tell you, sometimes you don't know whether something's working or not for a while. You know, we only had 5 people on that first Monday night call, and it was maybe 2 years before we really got a strong group going. But today, you know, we have thousands of people that get on because they bridge in with their whole teams, and, you know, it continues to expand. But it's because of the consistency. So no matter what you implement, you know, whether it's a Monday night call, whether, you know, you're doing a presentation once a week, you know, whatever it is, have consistency with it. My commitment to myself, and that's the most important commitment that you have. It's not the commitment to the company or the upline or anything. It's commitment to yourself on what is your activity going to be so that you can be the example in the model so that everybody in your team can depend on that activity happening so that they can model that same kind of behavior. And so if you see someone who is growing into leadership and they're doing, you know, whatever their plan is, whatever their strategy may be that they're going to talk to 3 people a day. They're going to, you know, make sure that in those 3 or whatever, that there are a certain number of, you know, people that they present their business to, that they're going to, for me, I'm talking product and business every opportunity I get, and I'm constantly looking to grow people, you know, into distributorship. Frontline to me, working with that new team to get their frontline immediately, that's where my thinking sits. Is I've got a new person, we're right away. We're looking for that first, second, third line right away, and we create a customer model as we go with that. But I'm constantly looking for teams, and I know that if I continue to go wide, I continue to build wider income as well. You know, it goes wide on your business. It also goes wide on your check. And so, you know, that becomes very exciting for everybody. But for people to be able to depend that, you know, this is what's going to happen, then they do those same sorts of things too, which only fosters strength within your organization. And as far as looking for leaders, you know, I've got a criteria for that. First of all, the person's they're usually skeptical. They usually have a lot of questions, and I applaud skepticism because it means that people are, you know, taking it seriously. They want to know enough to make an informed decision. But once we get past that skepticism, they want me to talk to everybody they can find about the business. That's why I got on a plane a week after conference and followed Lauren Slocum home, is because she wanted me to talk to everybody on the phone, across the world, in her house, in her town. When I see that, then I'm on it, night and day.
And Cheryl, I didn't want you, I think the other thing that Linda and I were really talking about, and the big shift, I think, between people that move quickly is, yeah, we want, you know, Jeff always says, you know, it's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. You know, what part don't you get? Flooding your body with 30 to 50 fruits and vegetables. And then really focusing on that business mindset, right?
Right.
Because it just makes sense. And sometimes people, they want to, maybe get stuck in maybe the whole, where it kind of made the shift. I mean, you've seen the shift from when people went talking all about the product, or that's nice. You know what I mean? But we don't need to. We have so many videos. We have so many doctors. We have so many ways to plug people in.
There's really nothing to do there. The person, and of course you can't. If I had a little microchip that I could plug into somebody's head and they had total 100% belief in everything, boy, and then the other thing I'd do is I'd put a bubble around them to where they would never meet with a negative thought or a negative response. But once you, have belief and you don't really care, what people think of your product or your business, but you're ready to give somebody your full time and attention once you realize that they're seriously and truly interested, then it's unstoppable. So that, and you're right when you said earlier, sometimes it's just a little shift in thinking, and sometimes it takes people a little time, but the product is so simple that we don't have an education process there. And I think sometimes, as people try to analyze it too much, maybe it's because they fear getting started, or they fear that maybe it won't work for them, and so they're not going to, or maybe they haven't gotten the courage. I think, Linda, I heard you say the word courage, the courage to really, just do it every day, no matter what your day was like. Yeah. Maybe they're not quite to that point yet, but at the same time, you can't make that. You can't do that for people. You can't give them that part. So you can only be the model of that part. And if you are the model of consistent effort, consistent activity, consistent in your, sharing the story of your belief, if people can depend, one of the reasons that, and Jeff and I both, if you hear our story, you're never going to hear it any different. Now, the business, you'll hear that the business has grown and the business has grown, but you don't hear our story any different. And the reason for that is you want people to be able to depend on the things that are foundational. The story being foundational, the, fact that our business paying activities are foundational. A daily method of operation with consistency is foundational. You want to be consistent with the manner in which you live that and which you tell that, so that people can depend on that, duplicate it, and then do it in that same fashion for their people. And, again,
Cheryl?
yes.
This is Linda, and I just, as what you're saying here, if I could add just 3 minutes at the end to kind of wrap a bow.
Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead.
I want to kind of cut to the chase on the big distinction and the massive turning point for certainly my own business, and what I came back and linked arms with a few leaders that were ready for this, was a dramatic shift in the mindset on how I would promote the business first. And with the business comes the product automatically. And
right. That's great. And I think that's where, when Lauren said, what was that, that small degree or that turn, yes, or that shift? Well, it was a major shift, but that, you've got it right there. And
it just occurred to me kind of, I remember coming back from the Phoenix conference on a plane, crying tears of gratitude. And I'm not saying that to be cheesy, but I knew in my heart that I felt like Willy Wonka with the golden ticket, because I'm like, I'm going back to help amazing people who are hardworking, ordinary people do amazing things. Because with this business model, I understood it on a different level. And here's kind of the little, I want everyone to play with me for 2 minutes while we finish up, because I kind of want to, for those of you that are kind of ready to take their business to a different level, the one way that you're going to do that is finding a way that you can be excited to lead with the business. Here's my ultimate truth, and I don't know, I might get into trouble for saying this, but I don't apologize as much anymore. I honestly feel like you can get a solid NMD 24 club, maybe 39 club business when you are solely product led. And it's going to take longer and it's going to take more time. And there will be more frustration. When you are business led and you can wrap your heart around how our business and our products change lives. Here's the thing, when you're promoting the business, the products are automatic. The mission is wrapped in, the products are wrapped in, the health, it's automatic. But when we just promote the products, the business stays in the background, and some people may never ever be invited to actually take a look at the business. So here's what I want you to think of, and I've had a lot of coaching calls this week on it. Those that are frustrated, wanting to move rapidly, I want them to get this one concept because this is what helped me. So maybe it will help even one of you out there. If we were to go to Vaughn's supermarket right now and pick 20 random people, and if I was to ask them, line up those 20 random people and say, who here is interested in making some upgrades into their health? Who wants more energy, more metabolism, maybe to drop a few pounds? Who's actually ready to invest their time and energy and resources into making changes in their health right now? Put your hand up. And write down what you think the answer would be. How many people out of 20 randoms at Bonds are going to be interested right now and ready to make a change in their health? How many out of 20? 3, 4, 2, depends. If it's Whole Foods, it might be different, right? But I want you to kind of, now, let's ask the same 20. Who here is looking for a smarter way for their health and their wealth? Who is looking for an extra $500 to $1,000 of smart part-time income that you can work at in stolen moments in a business that is booming, in a proven franchise? We would love for you to come and take a closer look. Anyone can do this business, and we're here to teach you how. How many more people do you think out of the 20 are going to raise their hand, because we're talking about many more things that people are in pain about and are looking for?
And they'll be able to do those healthy lifestyles because they'll have the money and the resources to be able to do it. You know,
it's
because
built in.
Well, I'll say this, Linda, you're preaching the same thing I've been preaching for 28 years, and what I've been doing with my own business, and I totally underline, and cheer you for that, for that perception and for sharing and teaching that, because it's true. You know, you're going to have more people respond up front to the business than you will the product, and the product will then be a natural for anybody who is interested in the business.
I'm curious if Tanya's on the line. Tanya, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Because that's actually, Tanya's a very, very successful business person. And Tanya, I'd love for you to share why you finally did say yes to this as a business person, a person that does extremely well, huge projects in your life, and just maybe reiterate what they just shared. I'd love if you would share that.
I think for me, first of all, the reason that I'm on board is because Lauren has just been such a solid, so solid over the past few years, in my life. And so that's the main reason. And then afterwards, I was looking for, I come from a business which is commercial real estate. And while we know that numbers can be great and big over there, what was missing for me was cash flow. And it just dawned on me, that one day that I'm like, why don't I do this with Lauren? I mean, it just seemed so, it's a non-brainer. I don't need to employ people. I don't need to buy inventory. There are no upfront investments over here. Everything has been done for you, the company, and of course I believe hugely in the product. Otherwise there's no way I'd be doing this. But everything is kind of, you've got a foundation over here. So if you're business minded, all the rest is kind of, handed to you, if you will. So now it's really, and exactly, like you guys were saying before, my mindset is I'm not trying to sell anybody on the product. I'm going after business-minded people. It might take longer, and I don't have a problem with it. That's the type of stuff I'm used to doing. So it might take me several weeks to get, one yes, but that one yes is somebody that can, is equivalent to maybe 100 individual product users, or so that's the kind of stuff that I'm going after, and that what really gets my juices going, and I'm excited about. I mean, it's about business. It's not, like Cheryl was saying, I mean, the product comes along with it. So
there you go.
And there's just consistency once you realize. And I'll say this: if I look at all the powerhouses in my business today, they were either just really got and understood that business concept. They responded to the business, or else very quickly, like Linda, you just said, when the light came on and you realized the business is the way to go. It was emotional for you, because you understood what was really going to be the huge income source was really growing other people, growing those teams, sharing with people the business story, leading with the business story, and that you would achieve results much faster. And not to say that, like you said, that you couldn't achieve them otherwise, leading with the product story. The product's a natural to go along with the business because it makes sense to everybody. If you look at a good business model, or whether it's a traditional retail, whether it's whatever it is, what you're really looking for is how do you meet the need in the population for the greatest number of people, do it effectively. It's got to be cost effective. It's got to be something that everyone needs, wants, and can afford, if at all possible. I mean, people do need bulldozers, but not a lot of them. And so if you can have something that reaches the greatest number of the population, that is affordable to the majority of the masses, then you all talk about the golden ticket, but you have to lead with a business to really be able to establish that on a global basis, and that's really what's going to access our pay plan at the highest level. And it's not always easy. It's simple to understand, but when we talk about not easy, what we mean is it has to have consistent effort. There's got to be a work ethic behind it, and you learn to discipline your disappointments along the way, and you take it on, if you choose, with a strong business mindset that you realize can become multi-million-dollar business, has for many, and will for more. We'll see more people grow into that multi-million-dollar status in probably the next 5 to 10 years than in the past 45 years with our company, just because of who we are, where we're positioned, and what our product line is. And like Linda said, I shared with her, I'll share with all of you, it's either going to happen to us or it's going to happen to somebody else within our company. Now, it's fine with me if it happens to everybody, but I want to make sure that we're all taking advantage of it too. Okay?
It's going to happen. Why not us, right? I would like to end our call with just a little bit of everybody's support. As you guys know, Jules Torgensen on our team was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She went in for her surgery. She had a full hysterectomy. And you guys, words of affirmation are really important to her. A couple of us drove down yesterday. Unfortunately, it spread to her colon as stage 4 cancer. And I'd ask you guys, any resources that you have, I'm going to be sending over, I don't know if anybody's in the Orange County area that can drop by some as much complete and trio over to her. I'm going to order some on behalf of our team just so she has plenty of it, triple doses of it. But if you send her your love and your prayers and any emails, if you could just respond on her Facebook page. There's also it says Jules Updates. It really means a lot to her, and we sincerely appreciate it because we are one big community, and she's going to fight this, and she's going to beat this. So let's send her all of our love, if you would, please. So it's a great call, Cheryl. looking forward to seeing you in a couple of
Well,
days.
I sure enjoyed it. I can't tell you all how proud I am of you and how lucky I am to be associated with all of you, to learn from you, to work alongside you, you know, to really be part and to enjoy your success with you, because it's there. So, and it's going to only get greater, and you'll only do greater things for people. So, Lauren, thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Thanks so much, everybody. Good night. Good night.
Thanks,
Good
Lauren.
night, everyone.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Good night.
Good night.